We've had 13 years of Labour's big government, and it's making our social problems worse. After 13 years, inequality is worse. The poorest have got poorer. There are still too many failing schools. We say it's time for change. It's time for the big society that we offer. Let's say to those charities and social enterprises that have got great ideas to tackle poverty, go ahead and do it. Let's say to people who have a passion for education that you can start up that great school and give our children a better chance. Let's say to that young man on welfare, we will help you, we will give you training, but if you don't take the job on offer, you cannot go on with a life on benefits. And there's a big choice when it comes to the future of our public services. There is the Labour way. More bureaucracy, more paperwork, more processes, endless targets, or there's the modern Conservative alternative. Saying to those teachers, those doctors, those nurses, you have a love of what you do, you have a vocation. We want to set you free to do the job you love and to serve the people you want to care for. There are real choices at this election. And don't let anybody tell you that real change cannot happen from this election. If we win this election, there will be real change. I want to tell you who I'm fighting this election for. It's the people I call the great ignored.
Alan Ricketts and Paul Brown.
I'm Paul Brown. Merseystride started because I was helping people set up and develop social enterprises, and I met a fella who was running Liverpool's biggest hostel for homeless people. Together we decided we were going to set up Merseystride, where we could build furniture and create jobs for people who are long-term unemployed, particularly linking in with homelessness.
And so how did you go about doing that?
The way we went about doing this was we started writing a business plan, writing funding applications, and approached suitable funders to see who'd be interested in what we were doing. Very quickly we got a lot of interest. Some of it came from the Department for Communities and Local Government, and some local money from Step Clever in the North Liverpool. We then got some additional little pots of funding from some local charitable trusts.
And what essentially are you doing at Merseystride?
The real thing we're doing, we say we're building furniture and rebuilding lives, and that's really what we're doing. We build and make and sell flat pack furniture, and we sometimes recycle white goods, fridges, freezers, cookers, washing machines, and recycle and upgrade computers. It's almost anything that we can do to create jobs. Where we make something, we sell something that will create jobs and generate income for us that will help fund what we do.
And when you say you rebuild lives, can you elaborate on that?
Working particularly with people from sort of homeless backgrounds, people who are long-term unemployed. Quite often there are ex-offender, addict, homeless type issues, and when you've been long-term unemployed, there's generally some sort of mental health issue, whether it's just depression, feeling low after lack of confidence and self-esteem. So we're about building people up, giving them confidence, believing in themselves, helping them get some sort of perspective on life, give them hope and a future. So having a practical job for them to do, learning how to use tools and build furniture, is just one of the starts of engaging with people. Once they're here, then we can look at reading, writing, numeracy, help improve those sorts of qualifications, get them health and safety qualifications, first aid qualifications. Once we can identify what they should be doing with their life, where their love and their passion is and what they're good at, we can then start directing them in that way so that they can start looking at a future, developing a job, a career, or setting up their own business or their own social enterprise, doing what they love, doing what they're best at, doing what they were maybe created for.
Where did you get your funding from before for this project?
The funding for Merseystride has mainly been around start-up funding. We got some start-up funding from the Department for Communities and Local Government. got some local funding from Step Clever, and then we also got some grants from some local charitable trusts. Other income that we've generated has mainly come from contracts to create jobs, contracts for employment, contracts for working with probation. More recently it's been quite awkward. More recently it's been quite hard for the income side of things, because the Future Jobs Fund was one of the job creation schemes we used to create jobs, and that paid wages, and it also contributed to the costs of Merseystride. The Future Jobs Fund has ended, so that's a large...
So who set that up, that Future Jobs Fund?
Who set it up?
Yeah. Was that the Labour government?
It was the Labour government with the DWP. So the Future Jobs Fund was set up by the Labour government and run by the DWP, the Department for Works and Pensions. It was probably the most successful job creation scheme anyone has ever come up with up to now. There were faults with it, and there were things we would have done to improve ourselves had it been going on longer. But it was creating jobs and opportunities for people who never would have been given that chance by normal employers. And it was working with social enterprises like ourselves, who were actually not using people just for the sake of using them. We were engaging with people to give them hope, to give them jobs, to give them a future, to help them to move into the employment market. And it was by far the most successful job creation of its kind.
Did you win awards for that?
We won a number of awards. We won a local award for Best Business Angel in Merseyside, sort of the right company doing the right things for the right reasons. We won an employability award for creating the best jobs for the people furthest from the employment market. And we also won the best project in Merseyside for making the greatest difference to people's lives.
And then what has happened subsequently when the Conservatives got into power? Just prior to that, did David Cameron ever come to visit you?
Just before the election, David Cameron came to visit us and was amazed at who we are and what we do. He said we're an amazing, inspirational social enterprise which should be replicated throughout the country. He said to help heal broken Britain. We were made up. We thought,
to help heal broken Britain.
To help heal broken Britain. Then for the launch of the Big Society, he launched the Big Society in Liverpool once he was Prime Minister. And even there he said, I remember going and seeing Home by Merseystride, an amazing inspirational social enterprise that does da-da-da-da-da, said exactly what we did.
And that was a few months into his new tenure. Last August.
And amazing social, which should be replicated throughout the country. That is the Big Society in action. So for me, thinking, this is what David Cameron wants to leave as his legacy in the future, everyone will say, David Cameron set up the Big Society, and he's saying, we are the Big Society in action. You couldn't ask for a better potential promotion than that. Lord Way has been brought to see us as well, and we've told him some things where we could save sort of 80% of the social fund budget and give better results for that sort of money. He was amazed and said he would come back, and made all sorts of promises, but nothing's come from that yet.
Chris Grayling has been to visit?
Chris Grayling came with the Prime Minister. Again, he was impressed. Enough, I think he actually came before the Prime Minister and brought the Prime Minister himself. And then Nick Hurd, we were told to discuss with Nick Hurd some ideas. We did, and he asked me to send an email just covering some points, which I did, and every week I sent him a new email just saying, have you received the email, any chance of some dialogue? And after about 8 weeks, I think I got a letter back saying, thank you very much for your correspondence, sorry we can't do anything, we wish you every luck in the future.
No explanation?
No, that was the explanation. And I hadn't even put any specific points that he could reject. It was just a couple of bullet points that were well worth discussion, and they all ticked the government's boxes. It's disappointing.
Why do you think Nick Hurd replied like that?
I'm not sure why Nick Hurd replied like that, really. either they didn't like the fact that the Department for Communities and Local Government under the Labour Party had helped to set us up, but then why would they have come to visit us and said such good things about us if that was their concern and that was what they didn't want to support? I don't know. There's no logical reason. Well, cost-effective wise, we must be one of the most cost-effective organisations for working with people furthest from the labour market that very few employers would ever touch, ever give a chance to.
That's what you won those awards for?
That's why we won those awards, yeah. So it's really hard to understand why. I know we tick all their boxes. We tick the boxes on social enterprise, we tick the boxes on job creation, we tick the boxes on working with the hardest to reach, we tick all the big society boxes. We're in the most deprived community in the UK, and our results are fantastic. And so low cost we can save even more money. The reason we were set up was partly because furniture is a major problem in helping solve homelessness, and we know how we can save money and solve homelessness and create jobs.
Alan, how do you fit into all of this?
I fit into it because I myself was one of them people that was far from the unemployment. I felt myself as though I couldn't get a job because I've been out of job to work so long. Then I was given this interview. I came here expecting just a normal interview. Oh, sorry, you don't fit our criteria. You've had a few problems with the police, so we can't do nothing for you. But when I was explaining to Paul my situation, Paul explained to me what this shop does to like turn a house into a home. The more he was telling me, the more I was getting interested and I was getting excited, and then I was sort of a big thing come over me and said, well, I'm going to walk out here anyway. So, but then Paul offered me the job there and then. So for me now, working here, I can see the change. I see the change all the time when I'm here in myself or the lads that come in. I come here myself on a future jobs fund, prove myself to Paul that yeah, I can do this job, I can do other jobs as well. Started working in the shop front as well as in the back.
What were you doing in the back, please?
I used to make furniture in the back. Well, I still make furniture in the back. We put all flat pack furniture together. Then Paul asked me did I want to try on the shop front as well, because I used to sneak out the shop front anyway, and I'd see a customer and I'd serve them, and he noticed that I was good with that. So I work on a Saturday now in the shop front. But I'm still building in the back, still learning others how to build, still learning bits myself, what they're teaching me as well. So we're all joining together, teaching each other all different types of things. But the lads that's coming in here from what used to be the Future Jobs Funds, they're coming in with sort of no experience and going out with a lot on the CVs, more confidence, which I lack confidence when I first come here. Now it's hard to shut me up type of thing, because I've got that much confidence now with just getting that little chance of someone. But without that Future Jobs Fund, I'd have still been on the dole, probably even involved in some of the riots or something, because of what the riots all started over, so they're probably involved in some of that. I mean, we were told by Dave Cameron, he come and interviewed us. He interviewed me myself, I told him my story. I was been out to work for so long, and he was, what do you do here? And when I was telling him, he was like, that's brilliant, this is really good what you're doing. I'd love this to go nationwide. And a couple of months later, it was gone, it was taken away from us. But he always promised, David Cameron, to put something back in its place. What's he put in his place? Because
and when he actually said those words to you, that I pledge support for your organisation, did you believe him? Did you look in his eyes and...
Yeah, I when he said that to me, I was a bit excited, thinking, wow, this could go even bigger, we could possibly open more shops, have a few different managers and employ more people. It could spread all over Liverpool, it could really go nationwide, because it was a really good thing to get those people who thought, I'm unemployable. No, you're not. Here's that chance. Give them that chance. So we could have spread right across the place, but it was just taken away from us before we even got started.
Okay, this is Lee Kelly.
Hi, Lee.
We've lived on Admiral Street for 8 years, so we're neighbours. So we're just opposite the police station where there's been the rioting, and I've been a mentor and father figure for Lee, and he's a great lad, and I love him loads. So do you want to say anything, Lee?
Not really.
Did you have a good time? Where have you been?
Oh, yeah.
Lake District?
We went to Lake District for a few days and it was
Good fun?
good fun.
Good walking?
Yeah, it hits though.
My point being was that I think we need to support community projects and faith groups that can draw in a large volunteer workforce, and for me it's always been about long-term building up strong relationships and supporting kids and families in the community, and I think they've got to be prioritised for funding, and I think there's the danger that you could end up trying to professionalise youth services and think that that's somehow the answer, where actually it's quite often a lot of the church groups or faith groups or community groups that have a lot of volunteers. They're the ones that are actually stick around, and they'll do it whether or not they get funding or not. I worked for 8 years on no pay. I'm going to carry on doing it regardless, but if you give me money, it gets put straight onto the front line, and the money is effective and it's well spent. So, you know, that's why I would always advocate putting money into local community groups where the money can actually be spent on the kids and the families, and it's part of a holistic approach that's long term. So that's my point, and I think that's what needs to be done. So I appreciate cuts need to be made, but I wouldn't cut community groups that have been around for a long time and really are at the heart of a lot of communities.
And don't you think there was a breach of faith? You know, because they promised before the election that they would fund you guys, and then they cut your funding.
I think it's just people not talking to each other. You know, I mean, I've sat with Chris Grayling, and he said, "Oh yeah, we want to support you for longer and for more." So I was getting £10,000 a year for 3 years. I'd had 2 years of that contract. That was a contract that Labour had given me, and now that's been stopped. So, you know, on the one hand, you know, David Cameron's come down to see. There's Lisa. You know, David Cameron's come down and seen my mate Paul Brown's social action project, Merseystride. You know, you can't come down and say this is exactly what this community needs, this is exactly the sort of thing that needs to be supported, and then once they're given the opportunity, then they cut the funding and stop it. So I think ministers need to be talking to each other, and I think the different departments need to be talking to each other, and that's half the problem with a lot of the prison service and probation. They're not picking up the phone. Do they even sit down and have meetings together? Because the dots are just simply not being joined up, and and that they've got their own separate budgets and they're trying to stick to them. But actually, if they put those budgets together a bit more and worked, you know, together, I think they would save a lot of money, and they would prevent an awful lot of pain and grief and heartache along the way that's felt by the people on the street.
With Merseystride, we've created 100 paid jobs for people from furthest from the labour market, from the most deprived communities in England. We've had about 40 plus people working with us as volunteers, mainly coming from a homeless sort of background, and lots of those have then stayed on into a paid job. We've also had about 40 people come to us on community payback, so instead of being sent to prison, they've come here, and it's about rehabilitation, and many of them have actually stayed on after the sentence to stay as volunteers because they've realised the benefits of getting up in the morning, coming out and doing a day's work, integrating with other people, realising that there is a different way, a better way than the way they were living before. So the new Welfare to Work programme, the funding's mainly going to a couple of multinational agencies, organisations, and in this area it's A4E and Ingeus. Now, what they seem to be doing with the jobs, I've spoken to a couple of people and they've sort of told me the inside information. what they're doing is they're going to the big employers, the Tesco's and Asda's, the big taxi companies, and they're saying to them, we get £4,500 per job for the easiest jobs. So we will pay Tesco or Asda £500 for every job that they're going to create anyway. So without the funding, they will create those jobs. But for every one you create, we'll give you 500 quid. And we'll keep £4,000 profit. So, like Tesco in Toxteth created 100 jobs because it's a new store. So they sign the forms, they get £50,000 for the jobs that are going to be created anyway, and the private company make £400,000 profit. It looks to everyone as though they've created 100 jobs, but those jobs were going to be created without that £450,000 spent anyway. It's just extra profit for very wealthy profit-making businesses. We work with great people. You know, the fact that they've made a mistake or a few mistakes in their life, we've all made mistakes, we've all screwed up, we've all got issues in our past. Just by believing in them, I'm getting some of the best employees you could ever wish for because I believed in them. They're more than repaying me back because I believed in them. 22 years ago I went through redundancy, divorce, Hillsborough, I hit rock bottom and I couldn't get a volunteering position anywhere. And someone believed in me and gave me a chance. Now I've had 22 years of creating hope and opportunities for other people. If he hadn't believed in me 22 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to believe in 150, 180 people that we've supported in the last 20 months. So, though I say other employers wouldn't touch them, they're fantastic people. And maybe sometimes when you've made a mistake, realise it's going to be harder, you are going to give that little bit more to prove that you need to be kept on, to prove that you're worthwhile. I've got some great lads here, absolutely fantastic. If the Future Jobs Fund had continued longer, we would have created a recruitment agency to work with all the social enterprises around Merseyside and say, who are the best 20% of people that you've got with you that you can't employ? And then we'll go to the Tesco's and the Asda's and all the other big employers and say, we can cut your recruitment costs, we can supply you with fantastic workers, guaranteed, they've got great track record, they've got great references, and it will help them tick all their social boxes. You know, look, we've created all these jobs for the hardest to employ people, but they're safe, they're really easy for them to employ. It would have saved a lot of money, a lot of time, and ticked a lot of boxes for a lot of people.
They're hard-working and trustworthy?
Trustworthy, yeah.
We've had lads working here who you wouldn't have looked at twice on the street, you'd have thought, scally. You'd have totally ignored them, but then when they've come here and they've been given that chance, they've opened up, the hood's come down, the face has been showing. What gets hidden now so much is the faces and the bringing these hoods up. We've actually had lads here who's come in, wanted to work with the hoods up, but then it's come down and
with the balaclavas on,
they've totally changed, and they've gone like from sort of, oh, you've looked at them, to like, he's a brilliant lad, he's a really brilliant worker, and they've done the work, they've actually come up to you and said, I've done that, do you want me to do this now, or can I start doing that? And they've come up with their own ideas. So people just need that little chance, that little break, someone to give them the chance, and we could have offered that.
We've had lads from sort of Norris Green, Croxteth, areas that are serious gang warfare going on, and lads from each area working together, getting on really well, and then one says, oh, mate's coming to pick me up. Oh, who's that? Don't let him know I'm here, because if he knows I'm here, there'll be serious violence. So those two should really be enemies, but they built up really good relationships and were really good friends. They weren't going to let the friendships outside of work affect what they were like in here. And it's really good when you see real genuine transformation in people's lives. I know we've gone off the question you asked, which was where's the money going, wasn't it?
No, that's very interesting. But just you know, looking at the governments, and in fact both governments, Labour and Conservative. Alan, you were a lad when the Toxteth riots happened in the 1980s, and you saw what damage was done to your suburb.
Yeah, there was a lot of damage done. I mean, it was a really great community, Toxteth, at that time. It was like, it was the type where people say you could go out and leave your front door open. You could actually do that then because it was a really good neighbourhood then. The Toxteth riots happened, there was a few derelict buildings, then A lot of buildings were set on fire. It was a lot worse than what it was. But now I still go down there. I see it the same. There's like most of the buildings, you could actually walk down the street and recognise it from when you walk down. When 20 odd years ago for me, I could walk down it and nothing's hardly changed because there was nothing done to that area. Little bits have been done, but they're like the sort of areas that's right on view. But them areas that's a little bit back where all the communities are built, there's nothing there. There's nothing there for them. The buildings are still the same. You can actually look into the building window and see right through the roof. They never done nothing with them. So it's probably going to be like that all over the place. But if a community's been damaged, help repair it instead of just leaving it to rot even more. But like this community now, it's going to get damaged because we could have helped them. We really could have helped them if we'd have had the Future Jobs Fund, kept on going. But we got that taken away from us. We got promised something else. Where is it?
Mighty Men. So this has been like running, well, for about 7 years, but I've known all the lads in the van for like over 10 years, most of them anyway. So I've known them since they were kids growing up. So and we've been going away like weekends, doing trips. We do small group mentoring groups every week.
What do you mean by mentoring?
Like sitting down, supporting each other, talking about stuff that's going on.
Yeah.
We do a Bible study. We just talk about stuff that's maybe going on in our lives or things that we're hoping to see happen, maybe like trying to find a job. Just talking about stuff that's going on and just sharing our lives with each other and praying and yeah, just giving practical support where it's needed.
Yeah. Do you get to meet their families?
Oh yeah. We regularly sort of have church services where the whole family can come. We get to know the parents, other siblings. So there's a very strong family feel to what we do at Mighty Men.
Yeah.
So it's very much about the longevity. So there's like one lad called Chiz, who's 28. So I've known him since he was 10 years old. He came to Kids Club when he was little.
Yeah.
He lives locally. He's married. He's got a good job. There's another lad, Chris, who's recently got married. He's being trained as a manager now up at the new Tesco store. And you know, I've known these young men since they were kids, and you know, I still live in the community. And
does it help their work, the school work that they do?
Yeah, massively, because it's you're believing in lads, supporting them, and maybe if they're having a hard time
with a particular subject.
Well, maybe they're having a hard time at home. Yeah. That has a knock-on effect with their schoolwork.
Right.
So whatever goes on at home always has a knock-on effect to other things. And if you haven't really got anyone to talk to or get that support, then quite often lads maybe don't achieve or do as well as they could have done in school, or maybe don't hold down a job or do as well in that job as they could do if they had someone just to talk about stuff that's going on. Because, you know, everyone has problems, everyone has stuff that goes on, but if you don't feel like you've got that love and support or encouragement that you need, sometimes it's just you need that little bit of motivation, a little bit of encouragement to say, go on, yeah, you can go to college, you can, you know, do well in your exams, you can go and find a job. So it's just encouragement and support, but it's also a lot of prayer as well. You know, it's a Christian mentoring group, and we regularly pray for each other, and believe that, you know, not only do we love and support each other, but that we serve a God who loves and supports us all, and that we're part of His family. So, and faith is really at the heart of what we do. So. That's the Mighty Men.
And that gives them a lot of strength and stability in their life.
Definitely, yeah. Because I can't be there 24/7, but obviously, you know, between us we can support each other. But obviously, we encourage each other to pray and to look to God as well to help us through whatever it is that we're going through, and to ultimately live in a way that brings glory and honour and respect to God. So it's like we're representing Jesus, we're representing God in our neighbourhood. So the way that we live is important.
What do you say to some of the criticisms I've heard interviewing people in Liverpool that if some of the kids are given opportunities, I'm not saying in Mighty Men, but you know, kids are given opportunities to get jobs and they just don't want them, they're so disaffected. Is that true?
A lot of people maybe don't take jobs. I mean, I set one lad up with a job, and it was just before Future Jobs Fund ended, so he had the funding, he had the job, I set everything up for him, I took him down there, and for whatever reason he did not want to take up that job. And maybe it's because he thought he should get more money, or maybe he thought he just wanted to go out and have fun, and there's lots of different reasons why people just can't be bothered to get a job. But then to blame, oh, it's immigrants or Polish people coming in and taking our jobs, it's like the jobs are there if you want to do them, but some people think they should go straight in and become a manager of a shop. It's like, go and clean some toilets, go and be a janitor, go and flip some burgers. You know, there's no excuse for not, you know, taking up a job. Now, is Eve still here? I mean, Eve was, you know, he was given an opportunity, working in the local school, just working in the office, and then a job came up, and it was like, oh Dave, you know, what should I do? You know, it's an assistant janitor. You know, it's not the most glamorous job in the world, let's be honest about it, but you know, I was going, this is a brilliant opportunity and go for it. And so he went into the interview thinking, I'm going to totally give this my best shot. I really, you know, want to get a job, I want to work hard. I'm not looking to make being a janitor a career. It's not like a career move, but it's like it's a move in the right direction. And I think that's what young people need. They need support to think, you know, whatever job it is, I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. And I think a lot of people just, you know, think of a job as a means to an end, but a job is a way to, you know, have a bit of self-respect, to get up in the morning, to work hard, and then when you start to do that, you start to feel good about yourself. You think, you know, I've got home tonight, I've worked hard today, and I've worked hard this week.
Gives you a sense of dignity.
Absolutely right. You know,
you can't wait till you get paid.
Yeah, and then you get your money, and it is your money. You know, and you can bless your family. You can give your mum some money. You can, you know, put a little bit of money in the bank and start saving instead of just spending on credit all the time. And that it's because that's been encouraged at an individual level and a national level, that's why part of the reason we're in the mess that we're in, because people are just spending money they haven't got. And I just always say to those, look, you want to get a new TV, that's fine, you do that, but you save the money up. You want to go on holiday, that's fine, you save the money up. You work hard, you save your money, and you spend it on whatever you want to spend it on, and that's your prerogative. You do that, but don't be spending money you don't buy things you can't afford, right? And I always say, like, if you're in a job, you don't like it, tough, you keep working at it. Obviously sometimes things happen and you do lose a job, and things don't always work out. But my advice to young people is, if you don't like the job, that's fine, but you can go to night school, you can look for another job. But who wants to employ someone where they just walked out on the last job? Let's look at your employment record. What have you done? Oh yeah, 3 months ago I just walked out on a job. Oh, why did you do that? I couldn't be bothered. You know, it's like, what, and you now want me to give you a job? You know, it's like, you work hard and then you work your way up, you know, and you keep looking for future training, and you make yourself more and more employable and more investable. And that's part of what it is. It's about investing in young people and getting to realise that, you know, they can do so much. They've got an amazing potential. You know, they're still young kids.
They just apply themselves.
They've just got to apply themselves, and it's like the world's their oyster. Much more though than when I was young and when my dad was young. You know, the opportunities for young people now are just endless. So they just need to just get out of the ghetto mentality and think, no, I literally could do anything and go anywhere. You know, I mean, Lawrence has just been all around the world, hasn't he, Lawrence? He's just been to New Zealand.
Yeah. If I just is it Eve?
Yeah.
Eve, what job do you have? Can you tell me about it?
I'm doing now with assistant caretaker.
Yeah.
In my old school that I used to go to. When I finished, I think it was 2 years ago when I finished. I finished like 2010, and so I was like, I went to college for a bit, but like what Dave said is like, I thought, nah, you know, college is not what I need to do. So obviously, you know, knowing Dave and Peter, like the big lads here, obviously I went up to them to like, yo, what you think I should do? So I got some good advice in that, and I got put up for I was doing a bit of voluntary work as well in my school, so that gave me more of a chance to stand for the job. So after a bit that I was doing it, I got offered like a course to do to work in the reception as admin, doing business admin, and yeah, just like you said as well before, when I got offered the school, because of my past and that, because like in year 7 was like naughty and stuff, so the future is kind of, we ain't looking bleak, but do you know what I mean? And the other thing that I was worried about was like my past behaviour and stuff, so I've came a long way from being there and who I am now. So obviously the school must have seen that, and they've seen the change that I've gone through, so they brought me forward.
And is the job satisfying?
Yeah, and it's like I'm getting my pension now, I'm
good salary.
18, so yeah, like, and the good thing as well is that I can only climb higher. Do you know what I mean? So right now I'm just like in the bottom of the ladder, and the only way to me to go is up. Yeah. So, and it's just
training.
Yeah, it's just training, but it's also you have to have the right sort of mentality, and you have to have a focus in life, because most kids like my age or kids from my generation and around where I live, everyone, what I call it, I say they've got a false mentality, a false hope. Everyone want to be multi-billionaire and want to be football players and stuff like that. So it's like, there's jobs going around and they're not seeing it, and because they want to be who they've got in their head to be, it's like every opportunity that they get, they're blocking it out. So that's why there's loads of people who are like doing nothing, and like that's why you're having gangs in the streets and stuff, because they're like everyone wants to be someone big. So me being involved with the Mighty Men and stuff, that kind of helped me to make me see the world in a different way. So
more realistic.
Yeah, it was more realistic. And
it's worth saying, like when Eve was like went into year 7, so when he was like 11 or something, the school was like didn't know what to do with him. He was like one of the worst kids that they'd had in the school. So, and that's when I thought, oh, do you know what, I'll take a little chance on Eve, because I'd like known him since he was about 7. I thought, I'll invite him to be in the Mighty Men. And now Eve's been coming for 5 years, and the change in Eve is just amazing. But so many times he would come around my house and he'd be like so fuming and upset because like the police had pulled him over, or someone had fronted him, or he'd maybe got into some street fight.
So it's like boom. So that's what we say, like with the stuff that Dave's been doing, and it's like, where with me now, I can be walking and someone will fall me. 3 years ago, I would have easily got into a street fight. 3 years ago, I wouldn't easily pick up a bat and just go and whack someone. But the fact that I've been not trained, but because I've been in an environment where with older people, more mature people, and now I'm starting picking up on the maturity, and now I see, well, there's no really need to be fighting or anything.
Doesn't solve any problem.
It's not going to solve no problem. If anything, it's just going to make worse, because if, like, for example, I went out and battered someone, if I go and batter someone, I could be thinking, oh yeah, I battered them, but you don't know what he's thinking. So then he'll think, okay, since he battered me, I'm gonna bring someone else who's stronger than him to do him in, and then he'll bring someone, and then after that happens to me, and I think, okay, so he's gonna bring people, I'm gonna bring people. So before you know it, you've got a big gang fight over just something stupid.
I think it's a testimony to like the work that not just myself but a lot of other people, because there's other men from the church that are involved with Mighty Men, like Mal Bingham, Paul Brown. I mean, Paul Brown works incredibly hard running a social enterprise, but he still comes week after week to come and support the lads, to run one of the small groups. So there's a lot of good men from the church that have given up an awful lot of their time to get alongside the lads and to talk to them about stuff that's going on, and like I said, Eve's come to our house so many times upset, angry, and it's like, it's all right, son, just, you know, let's sit down, let's talk about it, you know, and then he comes angry and he leaves not angry, do you know what I mean? He's let it go, and it's giving young people the realisation that they've got a choice, that they can choose to let things go.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And they don't have to hold
Talk
on
it through and then let it go.
Yeah. And forgive
and
people.
it.
And forgive people where you need to. And it's not like, you know, I'm going to hold on to this. Like, no, just let it go. Be mature. Let it go. You don't need to go and get revenge. You don't need to get your own back. Yes, that person has ripped you off. Yes, that person, you know, that was out of order. Is right. I mean, you think, you know, how much money is spent on probation, how much money is spent on police. You know, the care system does not work. You know, a care system, it's not even a surrogate family, it's just this, you know, it's just this institution that kids get put into. And why is it any wonder that such a disproportionate amount of kids in prison have come through the care system? You know, it's like you've got to look at the care system, you've got to look at policing, and you know, do we need to be spending the amount of money that we spend? I mean, there's ways that you can spend money, and ways that you can support families, and ways that you can support communities, whereas money that is well spent. And that's what I'm saying, projects like Mighty Men, put money onto those sorts of projects, because that money is going straight to lads like Mark and lads like Eve. That's where that money goes. It doesn't go on, you know, just middle management. You know, the money that gets given to these types of projects is put to good use. So, of course you need a strong police force, of course you need prisons and care homes, and you know, that's the bottom safety net. But it's almost like when that becomes the default, where it's like, okay, that's, you know, that's community and society's problems, it's just that's the safety net, because that net is very precarious and people fall through it
all the time.
So we don't want that to be the bottom safety net. We'd want other nets, other ways to actually, okay, something's gone wrong, a family's has broken apart, maybe mum and dad has got divorced, but that, do we want that kid to go straight into care? No, we don't.
No.
You know, and it's looking for ways to support mum, to support dad, to support the kids, so they don't end up in prison, so they don't end up in the care system. That's the last resort, and we just got to be doing far more to support local families and local community projects.
It's lads like him, and we're going round picking up other lads to come to a church meeting, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's important to me, do you know what I mean? The other ones, that he's the main, he's like our gold card, that's the way I see it, do you know what I mean?
Bro.
Lads look at him and they go, if he can do it, I can do it, do you know what I mean? And the amount of lads who we've had just from Eve is just...
Oh, Eve, okay.
Is amazing, absolutely amazing.
Really?
And the thing is, like, when there's rioting or there's problems and things happen, it's all in the media, it becomes this news, and it's like, and then the story goes away and everyone forgets about it. But I think, you know, the amount of human suffering that goes on, the amount of heartache that goes on through drink, through drugs, the way sex is promoted to young people these days, and then like there's kids having kids, and you know, it's not supporting families, it's just, you know, just created another generation.
It undermines the whole social fabric, doesn't it?
It creates another generation of being on benefits, because it's another single mum who obviously isn't going to have a job, who's not going to be able to provide for her family because she's on her own. They're not married, they're not part of a family, and so it's just the whole cycle just goes round and round and round. And it's just like, there needs to be a holistic approach of, like, you know, we need to stop promoting sex and drink and drugs to our young people. There needs to be far greater censorship on television, on radio, on billboards, and the whole thing, it's all linked. You know, the whole thing is linked up. You know, and there just seems to be like a bit of a slow erosion of morals and it's like, who's going to stand up and say, look, this is ridiculous, this has got to stop.
Yeah.
You know, and we need to be saying, look, this is a positive role model, this is what a good husband looks like, this is what a good dad looks like. And we should be promoting fatherhood, and we should be promoting, you know, being a good husband and being faithful to your family and working hard, and not just thinking about yourself. And there's so many young men, I think, that just run around, all they think about is themselves, and it's just like, you know, it's we've all got to take responsibility for that, but I think we can all together be part of the answer. But we need to start to invest in young men, as I have done and many other people have done for years, because I'm like his dad. I'm Eve's dad at the end of the day, and if he gets in trouble, you know, that upsets me. Do you know what I mean? And if something happens to Eve, it's like it's happening to me as well, because he's like my lad. He's my son as far as I'm concerned, because, you know, he hasn't got a dad, and I've sort of become a surrogate father for him. And I think that's if you could pinpoint one thing,
it's exactly what happens.
One thing in our inner cities that's missing, it's the dads. Where are the dads? You know, you could sum the whole thing up and say, where's the fathers? Where's the positive male role models?
Carry on.
Okay, so what happened was they cut the Future Jobs Fund, but the Welfare to Work programme wasn't up and running. So I had lads coming out of prison that wanted a job, there was a job lined up ready to go, they could have gone to an interview, and because the Future Jobs Fund was cut but the Welfare to Work programme wasn't up and running, there's lads just falling through the cracks. And even now that's still the case. You still, you know, you still can't get lads. I mean, you need to speak to Paul Brown if you can, because he's done loads of work and he's desperate for probation money, for Future Jobs Fund type money. But if you sit down and add it all up, the cost of putting someone to prison is far greater than paying someone a minimal wage, and giving them training and giving them hope to think, I can get out of this cycle of benefits and prison and all the rest of it. So it's all very well having a plan, but you don't stop one plan until the other one's up and running. I think it's just that I don't quite understand what they're doing there, and I don't think anyone really gets the Welfare to Work programme yet, and it's very complicated to actually even access the money. And even then it's big contracts to big companies that got £1 million turnovers. They're the ones that seem to be getting the money. They don't seem to be these local small community-based initiatives and social enterprise. They should be getting the money, and they're struggling and finding it really hard to access this money. So that it's one thing saying, oh, the money's there, but if people don't know how to access it or they can't access it, then it's not helping anybody. Recognised far more for the work that he does. I mean, he's at a local level, he's been just awarded Liverpool's Business of the Year. Okay, so people come to it and recognise and go, oh, this is just so amazing what you're doing. But it's like, you know, there should be more government funding, and like I say, that Future Fund thing was in place, that money was there. That Welfare to Work money, that is not working for people like Paul Brown, and it needs to work, because if it doesn't work for people like Paul Brown, it's not working, it's welfare to nothing. That's what it is. It's welfare to nothing. So if you want welfare to work, if you want people coming out of prison and not then going straight back inside again, you need people like Paul Brown. That's exactly what you need. And so if that project doesn't work for Paul Brown, it's not going to work. I can tell you that now, because there's no one who's put his house, his money on the line, and he's already tried it once through Clean Slate and it failed, and not through hard effort or anything else. So, you know, back Paul Brown and support him.
Merseystride, let's say if we created 100 jobs, 20 started up their own business or social enterprise, 10 stayed with us, another 40 have gone on and created jobs elsewhere, got jobs elsewhere, maybe 30 of the 100 haven't got a job at the end of 2 years. But what you've got to think of is the 70 people we've created a job for would never have got a job in the first place. So ours are 70 new jobs that are created, whereas the others are no new jobs created. But that cost £450,000.
2 years down the line, 2 years ago, I was just on the dole. 2 years later now, I'm a probation supervisor. So it does work.
What do you do as a probation supervisor?
I supervise all the lads that come in on probation to help them sort of get back. Even though they're here for punishment, that's their punishment. But when they're here with us, they sort of like build to do health and safety, all different things that they're going to need to go back into a job. Even as far as the routine 9 to 5, getting up, getting into work for 9 o'clock. I mean, some of the lads, they say like, they probably say to like family and friends going to work, even though it's probation to them, they're still going to work because they're still like in work here. And some of the lads have even like I've been up the shop front, I've been doing something, and they've even said to a customer, "You okay? Do you need any help?" Now, for a lad to commit a crime and come here as a punishment, but then totally change when he comes in here, that change follows them. As soon as you have a change and you get to enjoy it, you start wanting to make that change all the time then, because it makes you feel better inside. So you want to keep making that change. Whereas if a customer comes in here and the lad's just come on probation, he'll sort of like go and hide in the back. Once they've been here for a few days, they're like, "You're okay, you're alright, do you need any help?" As one of our lads says, "Are you okay, darling?" and feels comfortable with it. But they're selling the stuff then, they're helping, and they could even be looking down a new route then, like sort of building furniture. What about if I went into sales and something that's hidden inside them could come out? "Oh yeah, I've got great like customer service." So there's a lot of things that they could learn here.
So in a way, Alan, do you think you and Paul have become like surrogate fathers to some of these chaps? Where you're looking after them like a father would?
Yeah, there's me, Paul and Alan, Andrea, Chelsea, Brenda. We're all like a little team. We work with them inside the shop. We help them as much as we can. Sometimes they'll go on deliveries to pick fridges and freeze and things that up, so you'll get to know the van driver Ken, and he'll like they'll even like I'd like to do this delivery driving, and they'll go out and learn bits like that. So they're always learning from us, and we're still learning from them as well. We learn little bits from them as well. Like we'll do something and say, "Oh, that can't be done," and they'll come up with a little idea. Like we had a break-in a while ago, would have cost us like quite a bit of money to get the doors done. One of the probation lads actually fixed the doors for us. Now, he was here for a punishment, but as I said, he was already, he'd had his punishment by having to come here. But when he worked here, he was like, he could have just walked away and said, "Oh, £2,000, cost us £2,000, unlucky." But he didn't, he helped us, he fixed the doors for us.
Yeah, that was a really interesting point. When we were broken into, the doors were quite wrecked. It was going to cost us over £2,000 to get them repaired, and the place was a crime scene. So the lads who come here on probation could have gone home, and their time would have been allocated. And one of the probation lads was so unhappy that we were going to have to pay more than £2,000 to fix the doors. He said he'd stay here all day and he was going to fix those doors, and he did. Him and one of our lads together worked, and he made them perfect. They saved us more than £2,000. He did it in his own time, took the initiative, and it was fantastic to see something like that happen.
Yeah. Okay, if you can just tell me a bit about yourself, Alan.
Yeah, when I started working at Merseyside, I was childish. I was 20 years of age. I was a bit of a big kid, I must say so myself. But when I went for my interview with Paul for my future, I was unemployed. I was applying for jobs, and I kept going to the interviews, and like they'd say, "Oh yeah, we'll get back in touch with you," and then you wouldn't earn it on back ever again. Do you know what I mean? So then I felt like, what am I doing wrong? So I didn't think I could get a job. So I was unemployed for about 3 years on dole, and then I heard about the Future Job Funding Programme, and I asked if the advisor in the job centre if they could get me on it, and they went, "No, you've got to be unemployed for 6 months with no breaks in your claim." So I was gutted I couldn't get on it. My friend was actually working through the Future Job Funding Programme in another social enterprise, and I was just gutted that I couldn't do it. And I asked this fella in the job centre one day if he could help me, like get into work, because I was depressed and that. I was going to doctors, I was on antidepressants because I just thought, that's it, there's nothing, do you know what I mean? And then Paul gave me a chance at the interview. He said, I've got a list of people who maybes, he went, and to be honest, he went, you're near enough top of the list. So I come here, I proved myself to Paul that I could do the job and that it changed. And like, he watched me grow up and he noticed the change. Him and Alan noticed the change and watched me grow and grow stronger and stronger. And I've been kept on as a supervisor, now supervising probation, which if I wouldn't have come here, I probably would have been the one on probation for a crime, which I think it's like, I look at people now that do crimes and think, why do that? Because that's destroying our society in itself. So
It destroys itself.
They're destroying themselves, but just like the rioting, if like I probably would have been involved in that if it weren't for Paul giving me a chance. I'd have probably been there, like I'd have probably been the one at the front on the news, you know what I mean? But all for Paul giving me this chance and letting me prove myself and helping me where if I couldn't do something, Alan would help me or Paul would help me, and then I'd know them for next time. And then if anyone ever can't do that, I can show them how to do that because I know now. And it's made my life good now. I'm a father now, so I've just got a family now and I can support my family. I'm not on the dole, I'm not wondering where my next bottle of milk's coming from.
And you've got a lot of respect and dignity and
I've got a lot of respect and dignity for Paul, because if it weren't for him, I wouldn't be here. And when I look, I've been here 8 months now, so 6 months on my future job funds programme and 2 months off being kept on off Paul, so it's really good, it is. And like, I'm here every day, 8:30. I don't have to be here till 9, but I'm here at 8:30, ready to go, ready to go. And I'm always the last one to leave because
you enjoy it.
I'm paying back Paul, because he's paid back me. He's paid me, so I'm paying him back. Do you know what he deserves? Do you know what I mean? And he deserves a lot more. Like the amount of people that he's helped, not just me or Alan. He's helped so many people. Now some of the people I haven't met, but he's helped. But we've had people here on community service for, let's say, just petty crimes, say, and they've come out of here, they've got a job in Jaguar now, or one of them's got a job in Create. Now, if he wouldn't have come here, he probably wouldn't have got help off, or just to get him into work, and he'd have probably went back out, committed another crime, still being on job seekers allowance or whatever he was on. But that's an extra person that put into the workplace and is serving the community good. And the riots, if you think, if a shop just round the corner got burnt out on the night of the riots, and I was speaking to the lady the other day, and she's quite an oldish lady, and she's had that shop for 25 years. Now that was full of all her stock, now she's got nothing, no shop, no nothing. So them rioters, I know they're trying to prove a point, but they're destroying people's lives. That old lady now hasn't got her shop, she hasn't got nothing now, just because someone wanted to burn it in a riot. So shouldn't be, instead of rioting and fighting, shouldn't they be helping and liaising with each other and trying to build the community instead of break it? If Paul was given, because everything does, like everything's cost effective, so if he was given a chance to help more people, he could have created another 100 jobs, and that's another 100 people out of this community, these surrounding areas that are getting into work. And that, look at me, it can be done. I was probably the worst of the bunch. If you pick me out of a bunch of bad grapes, I'd probably be in the worst ones I picked, you know what I mean? Sourest ones I picked. But he's changed me, and he's made me, like, I walk up the street now, and just by where I live, there's a man, he's got no legs, but like, he comes out on his sticks and trying to get in his car. And the other day I was coming home from work and I said, "You're alright there, mate, do you need a hand?" Because he was like laying up on the floor. And he was scared. He was like, no, can you just go away, please? I said, "You're okay, mate, I'll help you. You know, just get in your car." And after me talking to him, he let me help him, and he was like, thank you very much, and he tried to give me £10. I was like, no, I'm helping you, I'm walking past so I help you, do you know what I mean?
Okay, who's that?
This is Chris, he's one of the mighty men. So I've known him since he was a little lad. He got married recently, he's a top lad. He's a real credit to himself and the whole community, and he's got a job at the new Tesco, and they're so impressed with Chris that they want to train him as a manager, because he's just he's really stood out to them. So he's a good lad, he's got a real massive work ethic, and he's doing the best he can for his wonderful wife Chantel and his little boy Dylan.
Well done, mate.